Sir, with the permission of chair of the new session, the next session which we are going to discuss is the socio-economic aspect of universal acceptance and multilingual internet and its impact on policy, public policy. This is very important because we have understood what is universal acceptance. Now we have to see that how it is going to impact the real group, the social economical aspect, and how the government as a policy making is working on it. So I am inviting on the dais the chair of the session, Shri Abhishek Singh, IAS officer. He is additional secretary with Ministry of Electronic and IT. I request all of you to kindly welcome him with the claps. May I request Shri Nitin Walia, who is director with XGen, the other panelists, to join on the dais. Please welcome him. And may I request a very seasoned man in language technology and the person who was chair of the Brahmi panel initially and help us to make the LGR of all 22 languages. Professor Uday Narayan Singh, he is the Dean and Faculty of Art and Chair, Professor of Linguistics at Amity University, Gurgaon. Sir. Thank you, sir. And other panelists, Mr. Venki Nistala, who is CTO from Rediff, is joining online. So Venki is there. Venki, can you please open? Yes, Venki is there. Thank you very much, Venki, for coming. So let me introduce the panel. First is Abhishek Singh. I understand that all of you must be knowing Sir Abhishek Singh, sir. He is a IAS officer with 27 years of experience in government and policy making. He is right now the President and CEO of National E-Governance Division and MD and CEO of Digital India Corporation. He, as in Digital India Corporation, he leads various initiatives, including project in the field of artificial intelligence and emerging technology. Government of India is looking at reorienting the entire bureaucracy, and they have formed a group called Karam Yogi Bharat, and Sir is also CEO of the Karam Yogi Bharat, which is tasked to build a tech platform for capacity building of all civil servants. Sir has done Masters in Public Administration from Harvard Kennedy School of Government, and he is alumnus of IIT Kanpur. So thank you very much, sir, for joining us. May I request sir to give his opening remarks as a session chair. Sir.
Thank you. Thank you for giving me this opportunity to be here amongst the champions of universal acceptance and ensuring accessibility of the internet to each and everyone. My fellow panelists, distinguished experts on the domain, the participants in this conference, the experts from ICANN who are here today. It was indeed a pleasure to listen to the experts in the previous session, and clearly showed how ICANN and globally universal acceptance, ensuring each and every citizen in this world has access to the power of internet, is made possible by making internet, by making all our websites, portals available in all the world languages. Why it is important? It's very clear. We all have harnessed the power of internet. We all have harnessed the power that it brings in ensuring access to information, access to knowledge, access to services. And why should it be limited to only people who understand English or a few other languages? I was reading at a data point that of all the websites, of all the portals that exist in the world globally, almost 56% of them are in English. Then there are another set of 13 languages, including the UN's 6 languages, which account for majority of the content that is available on the internet. Only, and in languages like Hindi, which is spoken by a large majority of people, Hindi, Bengali, Tamil, Telugu, Indian languages, many of these, and many other global languages, they have a very small share when it comes to access to websites, access to portal, access to content. How can we change this if we have to kind of onboard the next billion people on the internet? Or as in India, we say, like very often we take pride in India that we have almost 875 billion people who are connected to the internet. While we say that and we take pride that we are one of the world's largest, we are one of the world's largest countries with people having access to the internet, we also realize that when we say 875 people are connected, we also say that 500 million people are not connected. So how do we ensure that the next 500 million people in India and billions of people globally get access? That would require making internet available in all languages. And more importantly, what we are thinking in India is that we need to go beyond just the languages. We need to bring voice as a medium for access to the internet. We have been working on a project called Bhashini, that's the National Language Translation Mission. We realize that we are a very diverse country. In many ways, India resembles like the European Union. We have 22 official languages and thousands of dialects. How do we ensure that we have sufficient content in all these languages? And how do we ensure that people are able to access information seamlessly, access services seamlessly in the language of their choice? This would require not only creating content, but even something as basic as the URL of a website. Government of India launched the initiative of creating website URLs, email addresses in Indian languages. That has been in use, but it needs to be promoted further. And the other important thing that we need to build on is voice-enabled internet. So the Bhashini project is enabling that for allowing speech-to-speech, speech-to-text, text-to-speech, and text-to-text translations in all Indian languages. That's available in 22 Indian languages. That's available in all the official languages. The Bhashini app is live on the Play Store and the App Store, which will allow you to record a video, put a text, and get the output in a language of your choice. We're also trying to train our tools, conversational AI tools, wherein you can go to a website, you can go to an app, you can go to something like a conversational AI interface, even on common tools like WhatsApp or Telegram, and go and give a query in your voice and get the output in voice. We have experimented that. The beta version of that was showcased even to Mr. Satya Nadella when he was here in January, and he has been talking about the Bhashini AI WhatsApp chatbot, ChatGPT interface at various forums, including Davos. But that service, we are now working on to scaling it up, trying to train it, so that if a farmer wants to know the price of paddy in the nearest market, he should be able to go on that interface and say that I am a so-and-so from this political place, what is the price in this particular market? And the portal should reply to him in voice. And seeing the power of this input based on voice in all Indian languages and output coming in voice, we have also experimented with the same thing with a feature phone. People who can't afford a smartphone, or people who don't have connectivity, to use a feature phone, a 2,000 rupees feature phone, call a toll-free number, put the query in voice and get the output in voice. The back-end computations happens with all the compute that we have and the AI models that we have, which converts language into various into various models for getting the right information and giving it. So voice-enabled internet is something that we are working on, and I'm sure the deliberations here, the panelists that are here today, will have greater insights with regard to what more is doing, what our researchers are doing, and in what ways we can enable universal acceptance, ensuring that if you want to do a UPI transaction, or if you want to learn a lesson on a Diksha portal, you can do in all the language of your choice. The same thing is being done, like all the lectures which are there on the MOOC platform that Ministry of Higher Education has built in, has been enabled in all Indian languages. Public grievances portal, the PG portal that is there where citizens go to file their grievances, that also people can file a grievance in any language of their choice and get the output there. We are also building the voice-enabled interface there. So once we are able to offer these services and every citizen will be able to access that, then we will truly be able to say that we have achieved the objectives of universal acceptance, and we will be able to onboard the remaining 500 million Indians onto the internet. So I thank Nixie and ICANN for organizing this conference. And I'm sure we have our panelists, Professor Uday Narayan Singh and Nitin Walia and Venki, who has joined virtually, will be giving their presentations, their insights in what more we need to do for making this universal acceptance a reality. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much for setting the tone for this panel. And what I suggest, in case, sir, you agree that all the three panelists, let them speak for 5 minutes each, and then you can have a panel discussion. You can ask questions on this. So the next panelist whom I am introducing to you is Nitin Walia. Nitin is a seasoned IT professional with over 23 years of experience. Focus on email, anti-spam software, internet technology, and security. He is associated with international and national professional societies like ICANN, UASG, ISOC, ISPCP, TI, NESCOM, DSCI, etc. He was also on the NESCOM Product Council and part of India National Committee to develop a model RFP template for the software product under NPSP in India. Nitin is presently the Vice Chair of EAI Working Group of UASG, and he is the Director of Data XGen. Nitin.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Nitin Walia. So, Anilji, thank you so much for the generous introduction, actually. And before I start my talk about the UA, I just want to, add something to what Abhishek sir has said. When we talk about internet penetration in India, actually, where we have already connected 800 crore people actually out of it, the important thing is, what is the use of the internet? Just connecting the people over the internet would solve the issue? Because what we have seen is that majority of the people who are using the internet, the most important thing is the price of the internet in India is the most cheapest across the globe. You travel around the world, you will find that the internet price is most economical in India. And that's creating the exploitation of internet over the Indian economy actually. Because majority of the people are just browsing, downloading the music, downloading the movies, or chatting over WhatsApp. But is that the real use of internet? Creating the websites into local languages will not solve the UA problem actually. Because UA, in a simple term, says that, domain names and email addresses. That's the two things which we have been hearing since yesterday about UA. That UA consists of domain name into your local language and an email address, to support that domain name. Normally, any person who books a domain name look for some kind of services around it. And first and foremost thing you look is hosting that website on some service. And second important thing is, even before hosting the website, they look for the email addresses on those domain names. I think ICANN has already played their role by giving the domain names named as IDN into various local languages. And I don't know, you all know or not, globally, Nixie is the first registry who is managing 22 domain names in all national languages. It's not a small thing. Normally, if you go to China, you will find 2 domain names. If you go to Saudi side, you will find 1 domain name with the registry because they don't have the mix of the languages. Russia, you have Russian, Chinese. China, you have Chinese. Arab, you have Arabic. India is the alone country actually wherein we have diversified languages and diversified people actually. And the volume of languages, we say that, after a certain kilometers, the language changes, like the food and the water. Same is the situation on internet actually, because every state has its own language. And accordingly, Nixie has given, 22 domain names in IDN languages. Now, the importance of these domain names is, when we talk about the social impact, that language is something which touches your heart. we don't speak in English with our parents, our children's, or anybody in the home. We normally try to speak into our local language, whether it is Hindi or Gujarati or Bengali or Tamil or Telugu or Kannada. And that's the importance, because when we say it, 90% of the population of our country still cannot read, write in English. Then what about those 90% of the people? How they were going to communicate over the internet? How the digital divide would be broken and we will bring them on internet? That's the role of the UA actually. And into this, the government is the first moving wheel who will play a critical role actually. Because people here follows other. And normally they see towards the government that are my government websites UA ready? Are they available into the domain names they are talking about? Are they having those email addresses? Normally what happens is that the websites are converted into various languages depending upon the state and depending upon the geography. But the most important thing is the domain name and the email address still remains in English. If you all see, the importance of language can be seen from the newspapers actually. In every region, the local daily newspaper, which comes in the local language, has maximum circulation than the English newspapers. And that's the reason when you want to tap the local community, you place an advertisement into that local newspaper. Considering that if I'm targeting a Hindi community, I'm going to place an advertisement into Hindi daily, I'll try to create my entire advertisement into Hindi. But people forget one thing. They are focusing into the language. But when you see any advertisement, it has two problems. A domain name, which is there in English of their website, and contact us email address where they want all the inquiries or the queries come from, or all the leads come from the customer. That is also in English. So to end this, the importance of UA is that every person into this, at least when I can say that we are watching towards India, then India has to lead with the example actually. We have to connect all these 90% people, at least, so that the world who is watching towards us, for them we can be the role model. Thank you.
Thank you, Nitin. Thank you. You bring all your experience for all of us. Thank you very much. Now I'm introducing Professor Uday Narayan Singh. He has a details which goes into pages, but I'll take 30 seconds to cover whatever is possible, sir, from my side. He's an expert in linguistic and culture. He's a chair professor at MET University, Haryana, formerly director of CIII Mysore and pro-vice chancellor of Vishwa Bharati Shanti Niketan. He taught at the University of Hyderabad, Delhi, South Gujarat, MSU Vadodara. With 7 collection of poems, 6 books of essay, 12 plays, he published 250 research papers and created 545 documentary films. Sir, nothing best than you to cover up this particular topic. Welcome, sir. Thank you.
Okay. Can we go to the straight to the third slide, please? Third slide. Yeah. Thank you, Abhishek ji and Nitin, for setting the mood. The issue is that we are in a very complex situation as far as Indian languages and writing systems are concerned. If you look at this screen here, you find that our scripts are going right and left, up and down. So there are so many different kind of problems with the aesthetics of this. And that is something which is very challenging for anyone. I mean, I can, of course, somehow struggle to move out of this. In fact, when I remember Ajay Deta and I, when we were in Tobe, we were talking about these issues. people from the Roman group came and said that we wanted to see how exactly you are solving these issues. I said, but you don't have to see that because you have just A to Z. They said, no, 175 different versions of Roman also available on the net, and to bring them all together on the same platform is a huge challenge. So I think that we need to understand the complexity of our socio-economic situation here. And if you look at the linguistic diversity index across districts in India, you get a picture there on the map. And if you look at the, the numbers are also daunting because 1,576 rationalized mother tongues. By rationalized mother tongues means these are the ones, labels, which have been there since 1901 census. 1901, 1912, 1931, 1951, 61, 71, all those census, they have these labels, which is, so at least we have 1576 varieties which are available in India. In addition to that, there are 1796 labels which the Census of India or our Registrar of India are not sure how to categorize them. Call them dialect, call them language, call them what. So in a way, these are all subsumed under the number, total number 122 languages of India. Now you notice that our problem is that 96% of these languages are spoken by only 4% of our people, which is large number of these languages are in the northeast or in remote areas of India. So the issue, the challenge is how to bring them on board, how to bring them onto this net platform, internet platform. So if you look at this complexity, this is the complexity of the script that you can see here. And although we have 101 different languages in which newspapers are published, 3,954 newspapers, and we have just heard from Nitin that the Hindi language newspapers or Bangla language newspapers or Tamil newspapers are so very popular. So you have Jagaran, Dainik Jagaran, 17 editions. So if you just look at these issues, a very large number of people still looking at, even when you have the newspaper on screen, these people are actually looking at all those versions, all those variations on screen, whether in print or in screen. So radio programs, so now we thought that speech is very important. So radio programs, we started with 136, 146. When Sushma Swaraj was the IV minister long ago during Atalji's time, it was 146. Now today, 176 speech varieties, all India radio is beaming. So it's a huge task, and we have only been able to bring in some 13, 14 scripts of India on the internet, but there are still another 50 scripts which are left behind. How do you bring them on board? This is also a big challenge. Now, if you look at this, on top of this challenge, our languages are disappearing. And we were discussing some time ago how our languages are disappearing. Our languages, if you look at these red areas, these are the areas in which our languages lie. The UNESCO World Atlas for Endangered Languages, there are 30 of us created for UNESCO. I was one of them. You can just look at the way the whole thing is moving. And that is very challenging, very daunting, because a language like Monpa, for instance, spoken in Arunachal Pradesh, if you look at for the last 600 years, they have been actually retaining their manuscripts in the remote areas of Arunachal Pradesh. So if you do not digitize them, if you do not make them available for people, because there are medicinal texts, there are very interesting texts there. If you don't bring them, then that is all lost, and that is unacceptable. Losing a language would also mean that losing a huge knowledge system. Now, so to conclude, one can easily see that by 2050, 90% of our world languages are disappearing. And we cannot choose to be blind, because as Levi-Strauss has said it long ago, much before the internet advancement, that diversity of cultures is behind us, before us, and all around us, and we can't really close our eyes. Now, we know that a lot of other things are dying. Mammals are dying, birds are dying, fishes are dying, but even among the languages, 9% is already dead. And we have our linguist colleagues who have actually worked on some of those last speakers of some of those languages in remote corners of Andaman who are there no more. So even if we are spending very large amount of money on digital transformation, this is a transformation which is perhaps one of the biggest tasks for Abhishek ji on his e-governance portal, because how to bring them, how to make it possible for a tribal woman who is in a jungle in a remote area of Tamil Nadu or in Kerala to tell somebody in the city who's a doctor at what's the kind of problem she's facing during the period of pregnancy, and how to get that kind of medicinal treatment, medicinal suggestions from those areas. So that is, when that is possible, I would say UA has achieved a major goal in India. So I just wanted to pitch this issue and foreground these problems, socio-economic problems, problems of diversity, so that we can discuss this further. Thank you.
Thank you, Professor. Thank you very much. And you have brought up a very, very important aspect, that whether we are realizing or not, we are losing languages. And it is said that world over, every 15 days, we lose one language. I think universal acceptance can be answered to protect them once we digitize them and bring from one generation to another generation. Thank you, sir. I am introducing now Venki. Venki, a good friend of mine, he is associated with us in Multilingual Committee and Universal Acceptance Implementation. He is the Chief Technology Officer of Rediff for the last 20 years. And he's an alumnus of IIT Madras, and he did masters in electrical engineering. In Rediff, whatever the growth we are able to see, Venki is the one person who are behind this. And because of his motivation, Rediff is also evangelizing and contributing to the growth of internet infrastructure in India. While establishing the first data center operation in India, Venki was the first to emphasize the need for an internet exchange in India. So thank you, Nixie, want to thank you, Venki, for this. Prior to Rediff, Venki was the managing director of CyberCash, which was the early internet pioneer of online payment. Big list, but let us listen from him. Venki, within 4 to 5 minutes, please set the tone. Thank you. Over to you, Venki.
Thank you, Mr. Jain. You can hear me? You can see my presentation, I hope?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. Thanks for inviting me, Mr. Jain, and then it's a privilege to be on the panel here along with the distinguished members here. My presentation will be short, and then hopefully, and then a little techno social, okay? And I gathered my few thoughts over the last few days after you called me, Mr. Jain, then to summarize whatever I learned. So, what is a multilingual internet really? Okay, and then let's start with the definitions of that. What makes the let me try to, once again, if you don't mind. Yeah. The UA capability basically is really a technology capability. Okay, and then it's important for building a multilingual internet. Okay, and then I'm sure Mr. Dr. Data and others have went into the details of it. I'll not go into the details. UA is as important as the internet protocols, which were evolved nearly 50 years ago to make the computers with different operating systems network with each other. So UA in a similar manner will make the systems of different languages, okay, interwork with each other. But the complexity of processing the different language encodings is orders higher in complexity. Okay, when you look at the challenge of building the network protocols. So network protocols looks like child's game compared to the complexity of building language models, language processing models. Actually, we are now at a stage where the professor earlier actually said we are at a point where we have to make a decision on how we preserve our cultural heritage, languages. and also the large untapped population. And if you have to read the demographic dividend, you need to get started now. There are technical risks and costs, okay, but policies will evolve, must evolve to help the investors, okay, who will invest their time and money, and for the government to realize the economic benefits of it. Okay, we need to get started on that. So let's look at some of the benefits of it. Okay, I mean, I'll come to the shop floor here. When the UA capability is completely deployed, that means technically speaking, it will help us type, process, and read in our own languages. As simple as that. Text, voice, okay, video. Educational content can be authored a lot more easily. I mean, there's a lot of content out there. There's a lot of translations out there, but ability for people to read and write in their own languages, in their own script, should be as easy as we type language in English language today, author the English language today. It's not so easy for people at large. People still struggle on inputting the languages. The problem was largely solved on the mobile phone, but not on the PCs yet. It's also known that why should we have content in the languages? It's known that the learning of maths and core science is better in one's own language than in the third language, which is taught English, which is third language. This is very, very important to understand. I had difficulties actually understanding the Latinized phrases when I was learning math. Okay, and it took a while for me to understand the core concepts of it. But we struggle. So if you have higher education possible in Indian languages, I think I'm sure the dropouts will lessen from the schools. Okay, and this improvement will be progressive. Let's be clear about it. We don't happen overnight, but it requires continuous and sustained efforts. So Mr. Singh, actually, Abhishek Singh was talking about the AI and then other platforms. The AI can be explored to translate large amounts of scientific content. It's not just authoring manually. A lot of content is authored on MOOC, I know that. But whether we can actually translate a large amount of the scientific content, because unless people learn science and other topics and then seek occupation, okay, then they worry about preserving their culture. Otherwise, money comes and first. If you let me go on to the next one. We need an agile policy framework, okay, for skill development. Because as manufacturing services grow, we will demand so will the demand for large number of skills, and then there will be large variety of skills and large numbers. And these won't be just high technology skills. Okay, there'll be shop floor skills that are required for manufacturing. For example, we have been hearing about some of the semiconductor manufacturing shift into India. Believe me, the people who work on the shop floor are not necessarily PhDs. Okay, they require precise instructions in their own languages. Okay, that they can. So those technology skills are so that this kind of vocational skills are required. So we will need supporting and affiliated IT policies. That's where the policy impact will be to the national education policy to impart skills through rigorous vocational training in Indian languages in manufacturing and in digital infra services. This is the immediate requirement. I think we have been hearing over and over again that there is shortage of skills, a shortage of people with skills, and then engineering colleges, they are taught they're not good enough for they're not even good enough for some of the jobs, okay, vocational jobs. Learning English should not be necessary for higher education and career growth, unless that is, then unless that is solved, that we will not have adoption of Indian languages, okay, and then. But it could continue to be a language for integrating globally. I'm going very, very fast, and then please just take the salient points here. I keep repeating this, Mr. Jain, over and over again. We must have these browsers, on the desktops which support language transliteration from Roman alphabets to Indian languages. We must have it. Okay, that we don't have it yet. There are risks associated with this. in many areas, like phishing and other things, phishing links, browser phishing links, and so on and so forth. Like, this is not exactly the place to discuss all those technical depth. Okay, but there are risks. But I'm sure once we get started, that the technology vendors actually can tell us what the risks are and how they need to be addressed. Okay, but we can't be afraid of the risks and then stop. Okay, we must get started. This is a screen that I tried last night. This is something that I tried on ChatGPT. Mr. Abhishek Singh was talking about it. I said, क्या आप देवनागरी लिपि में यही जवाब प्रस्तुत कर सकते हैं? So it gave that. Like, I was asking for content in Hindi to be made available from ChatGPT. I got that. I said, can you say that to me in Telugu? Give it to me in Telugu as well. But I had to type all those in Roman script. Okay. Wish I could type it in Hindi and Telugu. It would have been more fun. Okay. It gave me. It's a little broken, but it's gave me. Okay. For richer content, okay, with more structured content, and then this can be magical. AI can be magical. Okay. Then I asked a little more technical question. Sambhavana technique. Okay. Probability techniques. Okay. What is it? Mahatva kya hai? It answered that. Where probability is used. So this is a little Sanskritic. Okay. But for me, in my school, this would have been a lot more understandable than Latinized English phrases. For sure. Okay. Because I can connect to some of those words. I can seek guidance from my elders. Okay. But with this language, the content and education in my language is so important. Okay, for me to understand the basic concepts. And then I asked, are you getting this from the Hindi Granth? Okay. आप ये उत्तर हिंदी ग्रंथ से समझे या अनुवाद किए? Okay. It said it did both. Okay. It used the Vakya Kosh in Hindi, okay, the Hindi corpus. It also used the language models. It can translate on the fly. So if there is a structured approach, the serious approach, AI could be the way to go. When actually, if people who worry about the various impediments, discuss the various impediments in implementing the languages. And someone said it's not just about building the websites. They've been around for many years. Just website will happen, and then filling forms. That's not the one. How do you impart education in Indian languages all the way up to the top? Okay, and English could be a bridge globally. So UA as a technology adoption actually with some AI help. I'm sure I didn't explore this yet, but I'm sure I can submit a piece of code which is not which doesn't support UA, and then ask it to convert it to support UA. I'm going to try that. Believe me. Okay, and that will work. It'll work progressively, but it'll work. Thank you. Sorry for overshooting my time. Thanks.
Thank you, Venki. I think you have touched very, very important point, and it directly touched to the heart of the people. Over to the chair of the session in case some questions can be asked from the panelists or from the audience. Over to you, sir.
Thank you for the excellent presentations, Mr. Nitin, Professor Uday Narayan Singh and Venki. And the three presentations clearly showed where we are, what are the requirements for, what is the need and what is the work that needs to be done to popularize the domain names, email addresses in all languages. What are the challenges Professor Singh mentioned about when we are dealing with Indian languages, the sheer diversity and the technical challenges that arise in doing so. And Venki clearly gave the use cases, like how it can impact when people are able to explore knowledge, explore information in their own languages, how it can expand the reach of the internet. So what I would like to ask each of the panelists, In short, and then we'll open up for the questions with the audience, is that if you would like, if you had the power, authority, or ask the government to do one key thing to make universal acceptance a reality across India, what would that be? What would your ask be?
Sir, as a citizen of this country, my ask would be why I should go to Gmail. Give me one email address from the government in language of my choice. Thank you.
Very nice. What about you, Professor Singh?
Well, my suggestion would be to try and work on those scripts which have not been so far Unicode compatible, so that the next step can be taken, next big step can be taken. Because those people writing in those scripts, they don't know how to go about it. They are the very innocent people, so they need to be helped, handheld, and then taken them to the Unicode consortium, and after that, they can then be part of the ICANN family.
Right. Venki, what would you like to ask?
My simple favorite topic is, enable language input through the Roman keyboards. We tried over years to develop the Indian language keyboards with Indian language fonts and glyphs. This is difficult because we know that we can't reattach those keyboards to the laptops. Okay, so there are risks in turning on the transliteration to Indian languages. Okay, because of things like homoglyphs and others. Many people will tell you the risks, but the technology is available to minimize those risks. So I think we should ask the technology vendors, major technology vendors. I will not say Indian technology vendor or global technology vendor. This is a global marketplace now. We should ask them to actually facilitate the Indian language input on the laptops and desktops, not just on mobiles, because that's where the authoring will begin. Okay, and then we need that authoring and then the content development to feed to the models that you have spoken about, the language model that you've spoken about. Many technologies be used, but we don't have enough corpus being generated, enough corpus being generated yet. And then for more importantly, for the students in schools, okay, to write in Indian languages, I can't be just doing it in English. I have to write in Hindi. Like I said on ChatGPT, I should be able to pose the question in Hindi script. Okay, maybe it will be less ambiguous for the AI model as well. So that is the basic stepping stone. I think we should get around that and then quickly, and then also motivate some policies to. We can open the. I think that will open a lot more things. And then there are risks. For example, if I type a domain name in Indian language, which can actually look like, for example, rediff.com, which is not rediff.com. Okay. There are many ways to create phishing links. Okay, but those are problems that can be solved. They can be solved, but we have to get started and see what the problem is. We are imagining problems and not trying to solve them. We'll get started on that. Thank you.
What Professor Singh mentioned and what Venki mentioned gives like some task for the Bhashini team. Amitabh is here, our CEO of Bhashini. So we need to think of like how do we tackle the Unicode, the languages which are not Unicode compliant, how do we ensure that we bring them onto the fold, and how do we ensure that we are able to build the same tools as we have for the other languages for these languages also. And with regard to what Venki mentioned for having the input languages for any system, whether it's a website or an app or conversational AI system, to be able to be for us to be able to do it in Indian languages, yes, that's very much required. We can have the keyboard alignments, but at the same time, I feel that with the experience that we have had on the Bhashini project, that speech to text, like if you are able to speak and that speech is translated to text, that becomes much easier rather than inputting. Because personally speaking, even typing in Hindi, I find speech to text systems to be much more reliable than having been able to type it in Hindi. And what Nitin mentioned, like having an email address which is available in our languages. So I am sure the NIC team, I saw Seema around here who provides email services for us, for government servants, if they can think of providing an email service to every Indian, which will be like Abhishek Singh at bharat.desh, English, and it can be seen in any Indian language, whether Hindi, Tamil, Telugu, Malayalam, and it should work as seamlessly as anything else. But I think as from what we have discussed is that we need to think of domain names and email addresses, but at the same time, from what Venki mentioned, ultimately the objective should be that how do we let various machines talk to each other, how do we let humans and machines interact, and how do we harness the power of internet to get all the information and services that we need through machines. So domain names and email addresses are just the means to improve society, to improve life. So with this, I think I would, I don't know how much time we have, but we can have a few, two questions maybe. Anil ji, aap bataiye, aapka time. One question. Anyone? Or it seems with this stellar panel, all these questions have been, yeah, there is somebody, yeah.
Yeah.
Please.
Sir, good afternoon, sir.
Please take
Take the mic, please.
Yeah. Good afternoon, sir. I have a question for you. I wanted to ask, while we are on the road to include all the official languages in the pipeline for inclusiveness of people, do we have something in the pipeline or some sort of a blueprint to include the unofficial languages as well? Because when we include the official languages, we're also leaving behind a good chunk of people who speak the unofficial languages. So do we have something in the pipeline to include that as well?
Yes, under the Bhashini project, while official languages is the first step, but ultimately it seeks to include all other spoken languages, all other languages. And in fact, I must mention that we have a portal called Diksha, which has got a lot of content for K to 12 education. It proved very handy during the COVID-19 pandemic when schools were shut. Content on Diksha platform is available in 33 Indian languages. So there is a plan, there is an objective, but we need to move from the step by step. The first priority, of course, is the 22 official languages, but over time, all other languages will build in. And in fact, the Bhasha Dan project, which Bhashini has launched, in which we are collecting data sets in all Indian languages. Therein, there is an option to contribute data sets in languages beyond the 22 official languages also. So there is a Bolo India, Likho India, Suno India, Dekho India, wherein we are asking crowdsourcing different language data sets, and a lot of people are contributing to that. So that's the initiative. And once we have data sets, sufficient number of data sets in each language, then we'll be able to, our researchers and technology experts will be able to build AI models which will help build services in all languages. If you want to add anything.
Thank you.
Already, as you know, NCERT is preparing work or workbooks, textbooks in 69 mother tongues, which is beyond 22. So therefore, there is some effort going on from the government as well.
Sir, support to my question. Support to my question. Sorry.
No, we don't have time because we are already running 15-20 minutes late.
Understood, sir.
Thank you very much for a wonderful panel discussion and insightful thought process, and also enlightening us where the government is thinking and where we are going. So we are going much beyond the imagination of all of us, and I think future is quite bright. So let us honor all the panelists. May I request team to please come and facilitate. First of all, Chairman Abhishek Singh. My honor. Thank you. Let us have a big claps for the entire panel.
Thank you.
Now we have one group photograph.
Okay.
Sir.
Thank you, Mr. Jain.
Now we are starting a new panel, next panel. It is on technology enablement for universal acceptance, challenges and mitigation. The panel is chaired by Sally from ICANN. May I request Sally to please join us on the dais. Along with Sally, we have T. Santosh, who is going to moderate the session. Mr. Balendu Sharma from Microsoft, and Mr. Edmund Chung, the director of ICANN board. All of you are requested to kindly join us on the dais.
Right.
Thank you very much. Thank you, and welcome to the chair and all panelists here. Let me introduce the chair.